If you're in the police promotion process going for a set of your inspector's pips, or maybe you're going for your sergeant stripes, you need to make sure that on your board you're memorable, that you stand out, and that you demonstrate that you can add significant value to your division, borough, and the whole force. And one of the ways you can do that is to talk about how you can save your force in excess of £1 million in 1 year. Yes, you heard me right. As a sergeant, as an inspector, it is entirely within your reach, within your gift to save £1 million. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly how you can do that. And it's not some flight of fancy. It's not some ridiculous plan. It's not a scam. It's absolutely something that's within your gift. So before I continue explaining exactly how you go about doing that, who am I and why should you listen to anything I've got to say? My name is Brendan from Blue Light, and over the past 31 years now, I've been supporting people for the police recruitment process, specialist interviews, and importantly for you, for police promotion boards with a huge amount of success. We've got over 800 5-star glowing reviews on Trustpilot. Got a great team of coaches who work around me and support the Blue Light family and all of our clients to succeed. And we actually guarantee a pass for those people who are in our promotion academy. All right, before I continue telling you more about that, let's dive into the saving of £1 million. So in previous videos, I've talked about the 3 things that really matter to chief officers. And we know this because we get our academy members to actually contact chief officers and ask them, what's the thing, what's the 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things that actually keep you awake at night? And invariably, it comes down to performance, standards, and here's the important one, welfare and well-being. And you may be thinking, oh, the bosses don't care. Well, they do. They absolutely do. But they're relying on you as sergeants and inspectors, chief inspectors and superintendents to be able to implement the policies that they have, implement their strategy around welfare and well-being, because they can't do that. They might be in charge, but they're not in control. You're the ones that are in control. It's sergeants and inspectors that are in most control. All right? You're the person who actually makes things happen. The chief officers, they just set the direction. They just set the strategy. And so welfare and well-being is really important because this links in with retention. And one of the things that we've worked out as a team is the cost of getting someone from first joining the police to 3 years service. And we have a conservative estimate that this is around £250,000, but we estimate that it's probably more like £300,000. How do we come up with that figure? Actually, we've asked so many chief officers how much it costs per year to get someone from starting point to 3 years service, and none of them really know. The best we've ever got from someone is they totted up the salary, national insurance and pension contributions. But of course, it's a lot more than that. It's everything that goes into keeping a constable out on the streets doing their job. So even the cost of the chief officers, I mean, if the purpose of the chief officers is not to ensure that constables and police staff are out there doing their job, then what is their purpose? What is their purpose? So ultimately, there's a huge cost to keeping people out there on duty doing the job. And this is where we get the figure of £250,000 from. Let's just stick with £250,000 because it's a lot easier to sort of multiply and divide by. And so on any team of, let's say, 30 officers, so I know some of you may be thinking 30 officers, that's huge. We don't have 30 officers, but let's just imagine we've got a team of 30 officers. So you're an inspector, you're in command of 30 officers, sergeants and constables. A lot of those constables are going to be new in service, and a lot of those constables are going to leave. We've seen the data from so many forces. It's not exceptional, by the way. It's not like so different from other years. It's kind of to be expected because Uplift recruited really quickly, and it probably recruited a lot of people who weren't completely au fait with what the job involved. And after 2 or 3 years, they're starting to think, this might not be for me. I'll wander off and do something else. Or I'm completely disillusioned and no one seems to care about me and it's time to go. We see so many of those comments on LinkedIn. You only need to go to LinkedIn to see lots of officers talking about the huge swathe of officers, the flood of officers leaving. Actually, it's not that bad. When you look at the data, it's bad, but it's not that bad. But wouldn't we much rather keep officers as opposed to letting them go? Wouldn't it make more sense to actually keep them in the role and make sure that they're content and happy, that their welfare and well-being is being catered for. And that way, this has a definite link with the other two things that the chief officers care about, which is performance and standards. Anyone try and persuade me that there's not a clear link between welfare and well-being and performance and standards? Hey, take your best shot, take your best shot. And these are sort of the topics that we actually cover with our Academy members. In a moment, I'm going to talk to you about what this line means and how you can visualize the saving of £1 million. Before I do, though, this is the sort of thing we talk about with our Academy members in our one-to-one coaching sessions, in our small group practice webinars, and all the recordings of the webinars that are available to you, and the online material, and our expertise. We've got over 250 years worth of management and coaching experience, and everyone that's been recruited into the Blue Light team has been recruited as a coach because of their innovative way of looking at the world, as well as being just awesome, amazing coaches. Like over 95% of our clients succeed, which is why we can offer a money-back guarantee. You don't pass, we'll keep working with you. Don't pass your board a second time, there's your money back. That's how confident we are that we can enable you to succeed. More about how to join us in a moment. So let's take a look at our timeline. We've got people here. Starting to get upset and disillusioned. I think I've spelled disillusioned right. Anyway, it looks right, doesn't it? And at this end here, we've got, they've left. They've gone. That's it. They've gone. They're waved goodbye. And by the way, in terms of trust and confidence, what message do you think people who are leaving are saying to members of their community? Some of them may have had a positive experience. You just want to move on and do something else. But the majority, if they started off at some point being upset and disillusioned, the seed was set. They don't suddenly wake up one morning and think, oh, I'm so upset and disillusioned. It's a seed. It's a slow burn. You know, please, comment below if you disagree with me, but I'd suggest it's a slow burn. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a sort of wake up one morning, I'm so upset, I'm so disillusioned, I want to leave. So what a lot of forces do is they'll have exit interviews, because they think if they have an exit interview, they're going to understand that upset, understand that disillusionment even more. But chances are most people aren't even going to accept an exit interview, or if they do, they're just going to get so angry that it may even just not provide any useful data whatsoever. It might provide some data, I don't know, but a lot of forces have ditched exit interviews because apparently they don't work. But exit interviews are done at this point. And the thing is, it's too late. By the time you do an exit interview, they've already put their ticket in. So reversing this decision is going to be really, really difficult, which is why some forces like Greater Manchester Police have this. A stay interview. Now, at this point, they're bringing in someone from outside of your team to talk to a member of your team who's looking to leave. And I find this really weird, because why does it need someone from a specialist team to come and try and persuade someone to stay? Because at this point, I'd suggest that disillusionment and upset has already embedded itself in. So they're likely to just continue doing what they're doing, which is to leave. Unless, of course, you've got some officers who want to play the system. They want a move, they want something that's Monday to Friday or something else, wherever it might be. Whether it's genuine or not, I don't know. But they might be just trying to play the system because they know they're going to get a stay interview, and that stay interview enables them to be able to call the shots, really, and say, well, this is actually what I need in order for me to stay. I'm not being cynical here. Listen, I've spoken to a lot of officers in GMP who tell me that this is how stay interviews are being utilized, so that each person who actually just wants something different might not have ever left in the first place. The thing is, I've not got the data. All I've got here, and I may be completely wrong, but all I've got is individuals in GMP who have told me that, yeah, the stay interviews, they don't really work that much, because if they're determined to leave at this point, they're going to leave. They're going to leave. So we've got this zone here between starting to become upset and disillusioned and the stay interview. If I was an inspector, I'd much rather have this be my responsibility. So one of the questions we often ask our Academy members is, whose responsibility is retention? Who is accountable for retention? And I'm often told it's like HR, it's the stay team, it's this, it's the other. And rarely do people go, actually, it's me. And I'd suggest that when you go for your board, you need to be portraying yourself as being responsible for retention. It's your team. You're the one that's going to have the greatest influence on them. If you're going for inspector and you're a temporary inspector at this moment in time, how are you going to influence your sergeants to be able to do what's needed in order to enable people to stay? Bear in mind, each person that leaves, you're waving goodbye to £250,000. And then you've got the costs of bringing someone else in that's new. Is this making sense? So if you just lose 4 people, that's cost your constabulary £1 million. If you can enable those 4 people to stay and perform and demonstrate the standards and ensure that their welfare and well-being is being looked after, then you've just saved £1 million. Is that making sense? If you can demonstrate that in terms of data at your board, that in previous years your team was losing 6 officers a year, now you've reduced that to 2, that's a clear demonstration of the cost saving that you've made. And when forces are struggling for budgets, this is really, really important. All right, so how are we going to do this? Well, there's lots of different measures that we talk about in our academy, but one of them is kind of working backwards a little bit. Because at some point, every officer is happy with what they're doing. They don't just join the job and become unhappy straight away and bitter and twisted and TJF straight away. They're happy with what they're doing. And I spent 28 years in the police. I had down times. I had times where I just really didn't enjoy what I was doing and got no job satisfaction. You know, for me, being in the police was like Marmite. Sometimes I really loved it. Sometimes I really hated it. Most of the time I really loved it. That's why I stuck it out for 3 decades. I didn't just stick it out. I actually loved it. I mean, my role as a neighbourhood inspector, oh my goodness, I cherish every day as being a neighbourhood inspector. I spent 7 years as a neighbourhood inspector. I loved it. It was amazing. So that sort of happiness, that contentment, that sense of having a mission, that sense of having a purpose, what are you doing in a systematic way to ensure that your officers, when they have those moments, are remembering them and they're keeping those values and they're keeping a sense of mission? So they know they've got a purpose. They know where the job's going to take them. They know what their career is going to look like. And you're maintaining this happiness, as opposed to getting to a point where you're having to deal with upset and disillusionment. And one of the ways we do this is we use a more appreciative approach to asking questions. So as opposed to asking questions about what's wrong, at this stage here, we're asking more questions about what is it that makes you proud? What are you proud of? Share with me a story about what you've done over the past month or so that you're really, really proud of. And once we've found out that thing, now we know that this is the button that you can press for this officer. How do I, as an inspector or a sergeant, enable them to do more of the things that they're actually proud of? Because those proud things have probably got something to do with, guess what? Standards and performance. Standards and performance. Everything goes back to standards and performance. This is like a trinity: standards, performance, welfare, and well-being. And in the middle, you've got your leadership style and how you direct movement towards each one of those areas. They're not separate things. They're sort of intertwined with each other. So it's still making sense. If you're still with me, hopefully it's making sense. So we're going to ask more appreciative questions. We're going to try and prevent our officers from getting into the upset and disillusion zone. And that some of you might be thinking, oh, that's going to be really difficult. Hey, welcome to being an inspector. Welcome to being a sergeant. It's part of your role. This is what the chief officers care about. They care about performance, standards, welfare, and well-being. This is the consistent message that comes from chief officers. And like I said before, how do we know this? We get our academy members to ask them, either via email or face-to-face, or just book an appointment via their staff officer. And I know from having been a staff officer before that the ACC I worked for, if they ever had a constable going for promotion or a sergeant going for promotion, asking for 15 minutes of their time so they could identify exactly what it is that the chiefs are looking for, they wouldn't have got a no. They would have got a yes. Because here's the thing, the chief officers actually feel quite removed from the front line, and they love it when they get the opportunity to speak to constables, sergeants, and inspectors. Trust me, they do. Anyway, I'm going to call this video to an end now. Hopefully it's been really, really useful for you. There's a lot more we could talk about there, about this zone here and how you're doing it in a systematic way that doesn't seem so transparent that it's systematic. Because as soon as you start coming out with, we need to have a welfare and well-being meeting, guess what? The shutters come down, don't they? So wrapping all of these things up into an answer that you can deliver either as a rear-facing question or as a forward-facing question, or a hybrid question where you're actually answering a rear-facing question and moving it forward. You're pacing things forward and turning it into a hybrid question. These are the sort of things that we cover in our Academy program. If you'd like to find out more, at the top of the description there's a link to a form. Complete that form, and we'd be absolutely delighted then to invite you to a call. The form just asks things like where you are now, where do you want to be, what you're struggling with, and then we can dive into a call and see if the Academy is a good fit for you. See if we can guarantee that pass for you. Like so many of our members who have gone before us, we get so many people actually coming back for the next rank. Why? Because we are good at what we're doing. Hopefully we'll see you in our Academy at some point in the future where we can expand on this even more. And if you are a serving officer, you must be, because you've got this far in the video. Listen, take care of yourself as well. Remember, your well-being and welfare is equally as important as your officers, if not more. If you can't take care of the me, how are you going to take care of the we? I'll end on that, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye for now.